Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Transport and asks, what differences, if any, is he expecting New Zealand research to show on the effect of a blood alcohol level of between 0.05% and 0.08% on a New Zealand driver compared to an Australian driver?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, this may come as a surprise to the member, but I don't actually expect to see any difference in the effect of alcohol on a single New Zealand driver compared to, say, an Australian driver. What I do expect the research to show is particularly the actual level of harm caused on New Zealand roads by drivers with a blood alcohol level between 0.05 and 0.08. This gap in the research was identified by the previous government, but like in a number of other areas, the work was never done.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker, supplementary to the Minister, why did he say in the forward to the Safer Journeys strategy in respect of actions to lower the drink-drive limit that, quote, change is needed if we are to catch up with Australia and others that are the best in the world, if he was not convinced by existing New Zealand and Australian evidence that immediate change was actually needed?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I certainly stand by those comments in my forward, and we have made a number of changes that will impact on the road safety record of this country relative to Australia. For example, the cell phone rule change, the legal street racing legislation, the raising the driving age to 16, the nil alcohol limit for recidivist drink drivers, the nil alcohol limit for young drivers, the introduction of alcohol interlocks and tougher penalties for drink driving and dangerous driving causing death.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker, does he believe that a lower blood alcohol limit for drivers is one of the factors that has resulted in 16 Australians in Victoria for every million people dying in alcohol-related road crashes, compared to a much higher 28 people for every million in New Zealand?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, it's difficult to actually draw that conclusion because the number of people actually apprehended in New Zealand at the 0.08 limit on a population basis is actually higher than the number in Australia. So that suggests a different attitude to alcohol amongst those who drink to excess, Mr Speaker. I would perhaps note that it is amazing that the opposition are taking the approach they're taking on this when they were obviously lambs in government on this issue and lions in opposition.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker,
order.
Is it correct?
Order. I've called the Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, is it correct that the data in his Safer Journeys document on the relative risk of a fatal crash set out by various blood levels uses New Zealand data and research and clearly shows that a 0.05 level is far safer than existing levels based on that existing New Zealand research?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, there's absolutely research, and as I said, as I know, that's not correct. Mr Speaker, what I said was that there is no research on the issue of the level of actual harm, no actual research between 0.05 and 0.08, and there cannot be, because legislatively, don't call me ridiculous on this issue, Trevor Mallard, because you sat in government for 9 years and never changed it, and now you're a lion in opposition.
Order. 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 Quite enough all round the House. The Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker, does he recognise that these constant references to previous...
I apologise to the member. Now, this occasion is the Honourable Ruth Dyson. Totally unnecessary interjection. I mean, interjection's good in this place if it's relevant to what's going on, but her own colleagues asking a supplementary question, that interjection's totally unnecessary.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Transport, does he recognise that the constant references to previous governments of both colours leave him as the only person who is playing the party politics card on this issue, except that there's a majority of MPs in this House who want to vote for a lower alcohol limit, which my bill would allow? And my question to the Minister is, when will he move beyond politics and do something for road safety in New Zealand that we can all support when there are no party politics to be played here?
Order. Order. Before I invite the Minister to answer, I'm going to invite the member to re-ask his question. And the opposition, the government members, the National Party members, because I won't include United Future and ACT in this, the National Party members will not interject like that, because I could not hear the question, and that's why I'm inviting Honourable Darren Hughes to repeat it, but I would ask him not to add into it stuff that's really outside standing orders.
Thank you,
Darren
sir.
Hughes.
So my question to the Minister is, does he recognise that these constant references to actions or his perceived inactions of previous governments of both political colours leave him as the only person still playing the party political card on this issue, when there's a majority of MPs in the House who do want to see a lower blood alcohol limit for driving, something that my member's bill would achieve?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
No, Mr Speaker, I cannot accept that. I mean, the reality of it is that this government has, in less than 2 years, a far better record on road safety than the previous government for 9 years. Now, if the member opposite is embarrassed about his record in that regard, that's for him to sort out. But we, Mr Speaker, have introduced the cell phone rule, the drug driving legislation, illegal street racing legislation. We've committed to raising the driving age to 16, a nil alcohol limit for recidivist drink drivers, a nil alcohol limit for young drivers, alcohol interlocks and tougher penalties for drink driving and dangerous driving causing death. When I asked the former Minister of Transport what they had achieved in new road safety rules when they were in government, she said rumble strips.
The Honourable...
Point of order.
Point of order. The Honourable... Order.
Point of order.
I say to both the Minister and the Honourable Annette King that a point of order is being called. They should have heard that. And they will cease interjection when a point of order is being...
Mr Speaker, a point of order.
Darren
I seek leave for the land transport safer alcohol limits when driving amendment bill to be set down as a member's order of the day.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 6, Keith Locke.